All right, so we're going to go over a lot of the analogies that we know in SV, a lot of the analogies. So shepherd and the diamond is the entire concept of as you understand the knowledge of satsang, your understanding of your own glory actually increases. So there was a shepherd and a goat, and he tied the diamond around the goat, and then he sold it for 100, then 10,000, then 100,000, and it finally got to a trader, finally got to the end of a trader, and then that trader actually knew the true worth of the diamond. So he said to the ultimate buyer that hey, take 100 laborers, as many as you can, and go to my treasury and take all the money as you can from sunrise and sunset. That trader was the only person who knew the true value of the diamond. And so only when you understand the true value of satsang do you actually realize, do you actually are you able to understand the true value or the true greatness of yourself. So that's the analogy of shepherd and the diamond. Analogy of the red hot iron frying pan, this represents the jeev. What is it heated by? It is heated by all these different types of sense pleasures. And in the same way, just a few waves of water cannot cool it down. The only way to cool down a red hot frying pan is if you throw it into the Ganga River. Only then can it cool down. In the same way, the jeev cannot be cooled down because it's heated all by all of these different five types of sense pleasures. It's heated by this. The only way that it can be cooled down is by remaining in satsang for a long period of time, not just 2 or 3 days, but actually for 10 to 15 days. And only when it is immersed in satsang for that long period of time is the jeev able to cool down, settle, the talks begin to settle in and penetrate, and only then can the sense pleasures be removed. The horses of Gujarat versus that of Alaya Kaja, this represents faith, right? What is the analogy of representing faith? It's the horses between of Gujarat versus the horses of the horses of Gujarat are very tall and strong. They're very strong in appearance, but even when they see a small stream of water, they are hesitant and fear to. If someone cuts them, they will not move. If someone were to hit them with a small shoe, they will immediately retreat. They will move away. But the horses of Leah Kajir, even in the midst of 200 children, even in the midst of children, do they not hesitate? Do they not stop anywhere? Samat Patang is a great example of this. He killed the son of Motera with 500 armed soldiers around it. He did this fearlessly, and this is the example of what one should have. One should have fearless courage and no hesitation in understanding Maharaj to be Purushottam. And in that, one should be like the horse of Alaya Kach. Even if there's a small obstacle, in the way, those horses of Alaya Kach, they do not stop. They do not have any fear. The whirlpool and the archer. No matter how strong a swimmer may be, if he faces a whirlpool, he will eventually get sucked by it. In the same way, no matter how strong an individual may be in his satsang endeavors, the whirlpool represents the desires for woman. Govind Swami's encounter with the king's maid. This represents the example of the Panchvishas and affection towards those Panchvishas, affection towards these different sense pleasures that we have. Govind Swami's encounter with the king's maid was such that he knew that this was the Vishays. He knew that this was attraction of the Vishays. And so because he had awareness of it, he said that I will go answer a call of natures and come back. And he never returned. And he never returned. But eventually he did become attached to Ganga Ma's food, which shows that even these great individuals still were not able to overcome their desires for the Panch Vishays. Brahmin walking 20 miles to water that turns out to be a mirage. This is the example that the jeev seeks all of these different material pleasures, wealth, women, sons, happiness, all these different worldly pleasures, but it ultimately realizes that it is not permanent. It is only temporary. It causes pain and suffering in the short term. So that is what the mirage is. 1,000-year Kijdo tree produces is very unproductive, right? It produces inedible like fruits, whereas 5-year old mango tree, right, produces very ripe fruits and fresh fruits, which means that no matter how long one is in satsang, right, if one does not understand the manifest form of God, he is like the 1,000-year-old Kijdo tree. He may be very well versed in the Shastras, maybe very well versed in all of the different scriptures, but if he does not understand the manifest or is able to understand and recognize the manifest form of God, then he is like the 1,000-year Kijdo tree and remains very unproductive and cannot even be happy. Whereas the 5-year-old mango tree, no matter if he is in satsang for a short period of time, if he understands the manifest form of God, then he is able to be and experience happiness. And people around him in his company also experience that type of happiness. King was able to demonstrate the importance of unity. He told his kingdom, he told all of his subjects to take this quiver of arrows, and he told the strongest among them to break the quiver, and he was not able to do that. But he took a single arrow, and even the weakest among them was able to break the single quiver, which shows that if you remain united, nothing can stop you, nothing can hurt you. But if you do not remain united, then even the smallest defect will be able to cause conflict. And unrighteousness only enters when there is a mental when there's a discord, when there is no unity. The thorn bush is like the jeev that is scraped smooth by sin, that is scraped by all these different worldly pleasures. It cannot turn green even with a little bit of water, even when you remain in satsang for a short period of time. This jeev cannot blossom into what it truly is. The Muslim mounted onto a bullock cart. He did not understand his own form. He took his seat. Was he a thief? He did not understand his own form. That is what this represents. The four Patels looked at Maharaj's feet. When they looked at his feet, when we look at your feet, we see Purusha. We see that you are Purushotam. But when we look at your body, you appear to be human. Right? That is what the four Patels said to Maharaj. Is that when we look at your feet and we see these 16 auspicious signs, you appear divine. But when we look at your body, you appear to be human. The trader who bought the diamond and allowed someone else to carry money from, so we already went through this. The three bodies are physical, subtle, casual. Physical body is controlled in meditation. Even when one is bitten by an insect, one is able to have control. Subtle body is worldly desires do not interfere in meditation. And casual body, the casual body is destroyed when sleep and laziness do not interfere with meditation. And so what are the ways of destroying the casual body? It is through drilling holes, which is spiritual discourses, loading it with gunpowder, which is faith in God, and then fire is knowledge of and having the understanding of the God's glory and greatness. Paramhansanand Swami, he was seated his seat was in the middle of cows. And even though he was great, he was a great saint, and he had all these different virtues. He was not overcome. He was ultimately overcome by the desires for the worldly pleasures. So he describes associating with the Satpurus through mind, deeds, and words. Through the mind, you have faith. Through the deeds, you perform only the commands, and through the words, you praise the countless virtues. Maharaj enforces the moral and spiritual codes by destroying the casual body. Right? Because other avatars did not destroy the casual body. We know this when Radhika ji quarreled with Sridham and Goluk, and JVJ quarreled with Sanak sages and Vaikunth. Right? These were examples where the casual body was not destroyed. Even though they did all have liberation in these abodes, their casual body was not destroyed. And to remove and destroy the casual body, does Maharaj actually give these commands and these observances? Maharaj's guidance to Swami was should he serve the six, should behave as the Atma, meditate, or should he engage, or should he talk about God? To talk about God was the best duty. And so that is what Swami has done day and night for the liberation of the jivas, to talk about God and instill within them the importance of Bhagavan. The root causes of attributing human traits to the sadhu are worldly attachment for desires, for worldly enjoyments, for possession, selfish concern for one's body, as well as prejudice. And prejudice is the most damaging because it maligns the jeev more than even attributing human faults or even indulging in the sense pleasures. Swami explains the constant remembrance of God despite completing thousands of tasks. He compares this to a fish. A fish is immersed in water. In the same way, he does all of these tasks while being immersed in God. Maharaj says that men and women sit separately because he has commanded them to sit separately. It is because of his dislike for the separation of men and women to sit separately. Do they only sit separately? Right? If he did not dislike them, then they would not sit separately. It is only because of his wish and his command do they actually sit separately. And the mind of the mind of a man dwells on the private parts of a woman. The mind of a woman dwells on the private parts of a man. The virtues are needed for one's darshan to bring peace to others. When one has darshan of such an individual doing darshan of this individual will seize worldly desires. And when they seize worldly desires, then peace is felt. And this is very rare. This is very rare. These virtues can only be developed when one sees the Satpurush as all-knowing and without any faults. Swami has been kept beyond 58 years in order to give the devotees of Sorat the ultimate bliss, because Maharaj himself was not able to give him his full bliss. So to be able to give the devotees of Sorat his full bliss, and because of Maharaj's affection for him, for the devotees of Sorat, he has kept Gunatiyan Swami on this earth to give the devotees of Sorat the full bliss. What prevents the jeev from blossoming even when immersed in satsang? It is due to the affection for worldly pleasures. What happens to those who melon as senior sadhu due to prejudice? They are consigned to the realm of ghosts. They experience no happiness. They have to eat feces, drink urine, and they experience no happiness anywhere. How long does it take for a jeev heated by sense pleasure to cool in satsang? 10 to 15 days, not just 2 to 3 days in satsang, but 10 to 15 days. And only then will the talks finally begin to settle. And only then is the jeev actually able to remove all of the worldly pleasures that it has. He said that if I were to tell this to someone, then he would pick up my bed and put it in the waste dump. 10 to 10 million times more, right? 10 million times more divinity a child of a satsangi possesses compared to other great avatars. The best thing is the attainment of God in the sadhu. And the worst thing is attributing human faults, attributing human-like qualities to the sadhu. 3 things was drilling holes, gunpowder, and fire. Swami compares the jeev chasing material pleasures just like a deer chasing, but eventually realizes that it's just a mirage. It was fake. Vairat Brahma prayed at his holy feet for a period 50 years and 4.5 hours, and only then did Maharaj finally come on down to this earth. And so Maharaj is in the form of a Sadguru. He has come down to the earth in the form of a son, in the form of a Sadguru, right? So son Sadguru is the analogy that Maharaj uses, and all these devotees are looking at him with total concentration. When there's a mental discord among people, then unrighteousness will gain entry. Maharaj tells Govind Swami to wear an eggplant around his neck, wear eggplant necklace or eggplant garland around his neck, and then go back in the village of Chetalpur. Swami says that one who has not overcome greed, lust, gluttony, attachment, ego cannot be said to have accepted a true guru. One who has accepted a true guru, right? The virtues of the guru will develop in their disciple. And only when one has accepted a true guru will they be able to follow the moral conducts and virtues and vows. In the past, Maharaj was pleased by renunciation, establishing mandirs, teaching, and other forms of service. But in the present, Maharaj is pleased by understanding the true form of the sadhu, realizing them to be flawless and divine, understanding the sadhu to be without any faults, understanding God's form to be without faults, attaining the company of the sadhu. Can a butterfly know the worth of the sun according to the Swami? No, a butterfly cannot know the worth of the sun. In the same way, these views of senior sadhus cannot be known. When one feels separated from the Satpurush, one should feel as if their head has been split open. What happens to food and drink without the murti of Maharaj? Food tastes like feces and drink tastes like urine. Samanth Patang's fearless act was that he killed the son of Motera in the presence of 500 armed soldiers, and he did this without any fear and without any hesitation. Maharaj's question is that the light of Brahma has been diminished. What are you here to do, and what have you come to do? What are you doing, and why have you come on? What are you doing, and what have you come here to do? Like the light of Brahma has been diminished. As one spiritual wisdom it develops, the greater the glory of God one comes to know, and one understands his own glory more. So in the same way that the trader was the only person who knew the true value of the diamond, right? Only when someone knows the true value of satsang of God does one spiritual wisdom develop, does one understand his own glory. Aztec complains that Maharaj has done a very, very bad thing, and that bad thing is the separation of men and women in these assemblies. Prejudice is the most damaging of all root causes because it maligns the jiva more than even indulging in the sense pleasures. And those who malign the sadhu due to prejudice have been consigned to the realm of ghosts. They experience no happiness, etc. So these are the main concepts in the SVs that we covered. A lot of the themes are about the jiva being engrossed in these sense pleasures. A lot of it is why Maharaj came down onto this earth to destroy the casual body. Uh, the mind of humans are always engrossed in these worldly pleasures. They cannot understand Maharaj to be Purushottam, is in the analogy of they hesitate to understand Maharaj Purushottam. They are like the horses of Gujarat. Thorn bush also representing of a jiva scraped by smooth sand, scraped by all these different worldly pleasures. Four Patels looked and Maharaj and say, when we look at your feet, you appear divine, but when we look at your body, you appear to be human. Three bodies, right? Physical, subtle, casual. Govaran Swami explains the method to destroy the casual body as well. We have this entire section on Govind Swami Paramhansana, and then Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was attached to his Jodi, and then Maharaj says to let go of the Jodi of Narayan and beg for the Jodi of Lakshmi Narayan, Lakshmi Narayan, or Lakshmi Narayan and beg on the Jodi of Narayan. Best and worst of all, attributing human traits and faults to the sadhu, right? That is a common theme in all of these. Unity is another one. Mental discord only happens when when there is when there is no unity, and when there's mental discord, there is no unity. When there is no unity, unrighteousness can gain entry, and so remain united, remain united, remain united is the key. Butterfly cannot know the worth of the sun the same way. No one can know the true opinion of senior sadhus, or the true ways, or the views of senior sadhus. So we'll stop there.